it's me, Cam from Cam's Cover. Welcome back to another daily Chelsea transfer news video, and today there is so much to cover. I'm going to be talking about Wilfried Zaha, Fofana, De Jong, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Ethan Ampadu, so many things, Bellingham as well. So all things Chelsea transfer news. 80% of you watch my videos aren't subscribed, so if we could get that down, that would be great. 600 subs, thanks. 700 soon, 1,000 to come. Anyway, if you guys enjoy the video, like, subscribe, all that jazz. But without further ado, let's go on the first story. Now, starting with the main man, Fofana, Wesley Fofana. The deal that looks like it's going to be done closest. I'm going to go to David Ornstein, who has said, exclusive, Chelsea send Wesley Fofana to USA for medical. Flew yesterday, owner's decision for peace of mind. Move should be done by midweek. Now, of course, David Ornstein from The Athletic wrote a big piece about 2 hours ago, which I'll be covering in this video. It kind of outlines all Chelsea's moves before the end of the window, which is Thursday, so there's a lot to cover. So, Fofana medical was said to be yesterday, but of course, flying to America does take quite a bit, so it's going to be today and announcement midweek. The reasons for going to America are clear. Of course, Todd Boehly and his team are American, and Wesley Fofana getting that leg-breaking injury last year, they want to have the specialists look into it, their specialists look into it, just to make sure everything's fine. Because if you're going to drop £75 million on a player, you want to know that he's not broken, which is great. And finally, I'm going to go to another story just to wrap this up. And this, again, from Fabrizio Romano via the Off-Court Offside podcast. Wesley Fofana to Chelsea announcement is imminent. Now, that was 3 hours ago, so maybe as you're watching this video, you check Twitter, you check Chelsea's Instagram, and it's announced. So that's great. Wesley Fofana looks like he's going to be the first to sign. Let's go on to the next one. And again, the big story that came out yesterday was Wilfried Zaha making himself available for a transfer. Now I'm going to go to RJP Journalism, who started this morning by saying Wilfried Zaha has officially made himself available from transfer. And this comes from the Standard Sport article from Nizar Kinsella, which outlined this. Chelsea are interested in a potential late summer deal for Crystal Palace star Wilfried Zaha. However, Nizar Kinsella reports that the priority remains to complete the signings of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Anthony Gordon before the deadline. Now, what makes this even more interesting is that in today's article in The Athletic from David Ornstein, as I mentioned, they said both Anthony Gordon and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang look like the deals aren't going to happen. So I'll be talking about that later. But sticking with Zaha, of course, we know what he brings. He's really come into his own these last 2 seasons about scoring goals. Before, we all knew Zaha as a skiller. He'd get some goal involvements, but more just good at dribbling and progressing with the ball. As Palace, the team have progressed, so too has his finishing ability, with him being third in the Premier League in 2022 with the most amount of goals, that being 12. So yes, Chelsea lack goals, Zaha bring goals. The main thing, he only has a year in his contract. The deal looks around 25 million, 30 million pounds, but we can never be too sure. It's the end of the window, it could be a panic buy. We could be offloading more to Palace than we want. Of course, we have leverage with Palace because we have players that they want. I'll be talking about Conor Gallagher later, but players like Conor Gallagher, Brozier, Gilmore, players like that. We have lots of players to offload. A team like Palace that would thrive there. Of course, I'm happy about Zaha. I said it in my last week's podcast about a player I wanted. The links have come on to be true, but sticking with Palace just for a minute. And this is via Gary Jacob, who have said Crystal Palace have made a bid of around 27 million for Conor Gallagher after intensifying efforts to re-sign him from Chelsea. Now, if you said this to me 2 weeks ago before I said Leeds, I'd be like, no, 27 million? Do you know the market? Morgan Gibbs-White was sold for 45 million. That's a kick in the teeth. But after the 2 stinkers he dropped, I'll be happy to offload him for 10. Of course, Conor Gallagher had a great season at the start of his Crystal Palace loan. I know a lot of Palace fans weren't very happy towards the end, but he fits the Palace system a lot more. Players like Doucouré and Milivojevic to hold in the midfield. But that's enough about Palace. On to more interesting stories. And actually, an amazing story that came out of the Court Offside podcast with Fabrizio Romano, which came out of the blue today. According to Fabrizio Romano, both Chelsea and Liverpool made an approach to sign Bellingham this summer. Now, of course, that went to no fruition. He's only saying this now because I'm pretty sure Bellingham will be staying at Dortmund. But it's nice to know that we're looking at Bellingham. Now, of course, with Frankie de Jong, Bellingham is about similar level. Frankie de Jong is a couple years older, so he has the time to progress. But Bellingham is in the bracket. He's in the tier 1 bracket for youngsters in the world and could be a world beater. So keep an eye on this story because we never know. In January or next year, when Bellingham is running down his contract, Chelsea and Liverpool could be the front runners, and this would be very interesting to see what happens here. On to the next story. So, again from David Ornstein, Chelsea having reservations over Aubameyang deal and Gordon is looking unlikely. I'll be speaking about Gordon next, but with ZAHA link coming, hopefully we can focus on that than Aubameyang. You know, of course, we're coming too close to the window. We're going to get panicky. I feel I have a grudging feeling that Todd Bowley's just going to offer £30 million just to get him over the line real quick, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Personal terms apparently were agreed 12 days ago, according to Fabrizio Romano, so there's no problem there. It's all on Barcelona and Xavi's side, and probably matching with the equal price that they feel together. But on to Anthony Gordon. So again, going to David Ornstein, again, Anthony Gordon to Chelsea is now thought to be slim chance, with sources pointing to substantial gulf in valuation between the clubs. Chelsea are also having second thoughts on signing Aubameyang. Now, as I mentioned many times this week, Frank Lampard this whole window was trying to do us a solid by saying he's worth 100 million just to scare us off. And you know what, Frank? Cheers, it might be working. Because our valuations are so far, the valuation of 40 million is a lot for Gordon, but they're thinking more 80, 100, and we're only giving them the 60. Relegation threatened, Everton £60 million. And finally, ending on sombering news about outgoings to Fabrizio Romano, Chelsea are finally closing into 2 departures. Conor will join by Leverkusen on loan in the next hours, deal set to be completed soon. Ethan Ampadu will fly to Italy as medical booked on Tuesday to join Serie A side Spezia on loan. It's done. The thing about this Ethan Ampadu deal, before I go to Conor, buyout clause, £15 million. Wow, in this market as well. That's not great business, is it? But of course, sticking with Conor, happy for him. Sad to see him go, because when he does play, we do play well. But first team football is a must. European football for Bayern Leverkusen as well, and in a league with, high lines, getting behind, users pace, score some goals, hopefully come back a better player. Could even push for a slot in the England Euro team. Does he play for Ghana now? I forgot. I know. So yes, a mammoth video today. Of course, I think I'm going to be dropping 2 videos a day as it comes to the end of the window. But if you guys enjoyed, like, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you tomorrow for more transfer news. See you then.